anyone like to present any public comments? And please state your name and your address for the record.
Sandra Ehlers, 502 11th Street, Lot 20, Springfield.
Okay, thanks, Sandra. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to express my position on the adoption of the IPMC code for Springfield. I moved here last year after having spent the majority of the pandemic in Northern California. I chose South Dakota as a prospective relocation destination because it's a freedom-loving state. I've had more than enough of the opposite. I'm opposed to the inclusions of the IPMC as a guideline for Springfield based primarily on its intrusion into our constitutional freedoms. What is the IPMC and why is it inappropriate for Springfield? I'm not sure how familiar you are with HOAs and housing subdivisions. My summation of them is this: you're paying someone to tell you what you can and cannot do with your property. They tell you what colors you have permission to use, what can remain in your driveway, and ultimately what plants that you are allowed to have. They can regulate the type of fencing to change anything they deem contradictory to the HOA. The IPMC will have the exact same consequences. The difference being you weren't even aware you are opting in. What makes life in general, and our community in particular, enjoyable is diversity. Do we really want to live in a perfect place where everything is regulated? I find it interesting that households in Yankton are allowed to have 6 chickens on their property, for instance. In Springfield, it's only 3. I've heard rumors they might be disallowed altogether in the near future. Why? Springfield is an agricultural town. It is sustained by farms. If one doesn't appreciate agriculture and all that pertains to it, why live here? Do we really wish to change the face of our town to that of a suburb? Getting back to the adoption of the IPMC code, as an American, the name alone is something that would make me shy away. The I is international. Why would we wish to join anything that is international? We don't have to be conspiracy theorists to know that there are those whose agenda is a one-world government. Every time we give away some of our individual freedoms, we take a step closer to allowing the United States to diminish as a nation. In the short time I've lived here, I've spoken to several people and shared what town I live in. I have to be honest, the response has not been favorable. The people here have been very nice to me as the newcomer, but the rules and regulations for such a small rural town are kind of over the top. It is my understanding that the City Council's goal should be to promote and maintain the essence of our small community, that and retain our individual freedoms. The fact is, rules and laws do nothing to prevent infractions. All they do is provide the means to prosecute the perpetrator. From what I know, we have more than enough regulations for one small town. We don't need the IPMC to bring even more scrutiny and intrusion into our lives. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sandra. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment?
I would. My name's Amber Marshall. I live at 405 10th Street in Springfield. You ready?
Okay, go ahead, Amber.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I was raised in Tyndall, and I moved out to North Carolina in 05 when I graduated. I decided to get a degree and come home, where I rented a house in Tyndall for the last 6 years. The people here are friendly, helpful, and easy to talk to. The crime rate in North Carolina was stressful with small kids, and the cost of living was very discouraging. As a single mother with little to no help from family, I was able to save enough money to finally purchase my own home here in Springfield. I have since had to replace every important item that was in the home, but it didn't matter because the financial situation, and even though my financial situation was completely drained, I was finally a single mom who could give my kids a home in a small town with the same morals and values I was blessed to grow up with. 2 of my 3 kids are very well behaved. I shop at local businesses, putting money into the community. My daughter is 13 and volunteered at the library over the summer to read to the kids and intends to have her first job here at a local business. I have had so many local Springfield residents tell me how amazed they are at how much I have saved the house that they were certain was destined to be torn down. When I was made aware of this homeowners association, the code violation for property maintenance, possibly being implemented, I was very disappointed. In an economy where our inflation is at an all-time high, how can I afford to be punished and fined over things that I'm doing my very best to take care of? I worked for the state of South Dakota for almost 4 years with the mentally ill and addicted. I was not born into money. My ex-husband is over $15,000 behind in child support. I bought chickens as the bird flu hit because of the prices of food soared. With 3 kids, eggs are a necessity, and we go through a lot of them, so it really helps us a lot. Now I hear my rights as a homeowner are being threatened by the one truly horrible thing about living in a small town, South Dakota: people minding other people's business. I don't care what party you associate with. Anyone can see that this is clearly crossing the lines and overstepping homeowners' rights to personal decisions. But to have someone come into my yard that I pay for and tell me that they don't approve of what I'm doing has me flabbergasted. And considering selling my house that I have only been at for a little over a year and return to renting, because there's no difference between having a landlord and having a code enforcer. But the way the financial burden does have a difference. Let's see. If I wanted to live in a place that had the right to tell me what I have on my property, then I could have stayed in a big city where there was a homeowners association, where there's a bunch of paper houses lined up, one after the other.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber.
My name is William Paulson, 502 11th Street, Springfield, South Dakota. It feels both good and different to be in here not alone tonight. Of course, I've never really been alone. I've just actually brought some people with me this time. Anyways, I want to thank those of you that came up down here tonight to speak, comment, and those of you that came to sit with us. Stuff like this just needs to happen. It's a shame, really, because there would have been a lot more people that would have come down here tonight. But some of those people are traveling for doctor's appointments. They're working jobs to bring their bread back to Springfield to live here. And because of the way things have been in the past, they fear retaliation from their leaders. And rightfully so, because I've experienced that. Chicago, Illinois, San Francisco, California, New York City, D.C., Kansas City, Seattle, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Denver. You know what these cities have in common? Well, for starters, they have a lot of people living in them. They're very progressive cities, and they're primarily run by liberals. They all have a total or hybrid adoption of the IPMC, the International Property Maintenance Code, which was brought up in the June 14th meeting for something that should be looked into in the very near future. This is Springfield. We are in one of the most conservative states in this country. We have less than 1,000 people, okay? I hear and have read a lot of this talk about property rights, limited government, and my personal favorite, freedom. We know no action will be taken tonight, but we and others expect a vote on this strict code enforcement and IPMC adoption possibility in the near future. We know what may or may not happen. Republicans, independents, and Democrats make up our group, RID. And we plan to get rid of those responsible for this movement. This is an issue that will unite every party in this town. You may get to witness some of us setting aside our differences to shut this progressive movement down. We want to know where we stand going into the fall and winter. Because if this progressive movement isn't canceled, then we need to know who we need to cancel. We're going to leave now. I'm going to leave these with your cops, and I hope the entire council gets to read everything that's in them. There are some letters from other people. Some people didn't get their letters done for us to give to you, but I don't know what the council's getting to see and what you're not getting to see as far as correspondence. So we're going to leave this with you.
Thank you. You can leave those with-
Yeah, I'll leave them with Doug.